Okay, so welcome everybody to the Culinary Careers session. My name is Kerry Mabley and I'm the Careers and Education Coordinator Education Manager. I've had a promotion here at Springford. We're joined by my colleague Amanda McDade, who is the Head of Careers and Education, and also by another one of our colleagues, Caitlin Clark, who is the Careers and Education Coordinator as well. So there are plenty of us on the call here to help to support you today. Amanda and Caitlin will be managing the chat, but we are also joined by two fabulous chefs. We have Mark Ayres and Andrew Aston, and we're going to go through and tell you a little bit about their journey, who they are, what they do, a few insights into a career as a chef to help to support you. And we will be taking questions as well. So if you do have any questions, if you can pop those in the chat at the end, that would be fantastic. There will be plenty of time for questions and answers as well. So I'm not going to introduce Andrew and Mark. I'm just going to get them to do a little bit of introduction about who they are and where they work, but not to give too much away about themselves just yet, because they will be doing that part as well. So Andrew and Mark, as we muted you have actually been put on mute, so you should be able to unmute yourself. And Andrew, if you just want to introduce yourself, tell us who you are and where you work, that would be fab.
Yeah, good morning. Good to see you all. My name's Andrew Aston and I'm Head of Wellness and Nutrition for Back to the Story, who are a UK-based contract caterer. I'm predominantly based in London.
Fantastic, thank you. And Mark?
Good morning. I'm Mark Ayres. I run my own business as a personal chef.
Brilliant, fantastic. And we'll be hearing more from you shortly, Matt. But I'm just going to go over to Andrew first of all. So thank you. I know both of you are very, very busy. Hospitality's opening. Yay, which is fantastic. So thank you so much for taking that time out today, just to help to support the young people that we have on the call to find out more about chefing and what that can bring to you as well. So Andrew, can you tell us a little bit about your career journey to date?
Yeah, I mean, I first and foremost, I never wanted to be a chef. That wasn't part of my career goal. I always wanted to play football. So football was my first love, and rugby. And I nearly made it at a club called Burnley, you might know. But I was there for a few seasons, but I got badly injured. So I had to rethink my career, and that was at a very young age, because I was an apprentice. So I was at a very young age, and I had to kind of think, what am I going to do? So I went around loads of different jobs. Electrician, I tried to understand that. Laying floors, welding. I tried everything because I wanted to know what would suit me, because football was my love, but I know how to have a backup plan. So luckily I found this little bistro with one chef, 4 dishes he cooked every night, and he allowed me into his kitchen at a very young age. And at the end of the night, he wouldn't let me wash any of the pans. We would get a baguette, and we'd sit at the end of the night and we would just get the baguette, break it, and just get all the good stuff from the bottom of the pan, sitting in the middle of the kitchen. And it's kind of like, I thought, wow, I get paid and I get to eat great food. And that was at a very young age. So that kind of was the start of my career. And then I was, thankfully, I got a job in London, but I wanted to go to college. College is really important. Sometimes you can, self-teach yourself and you can go away and do stuff, and that's fine. But college will give you a good grounding. And I did that day release while working at the time. I was working for Gary Rhodes, a chef called Gary Rhodes, isn't it? Unfortunately, no longer with us. And I had a great time there. So that all happened in about 3 or 4 years. It was a very quick, moving from football through to all those jobs I've been to. And the day release gave me some real core grounding, in terms of how to cook. And that's the really important. But how to cook and how to manage in a kitchen environment. But it gave me the taste of kind of what that life could look like. So I then, do you want me to go through the whole lot, Amanda? Just kind of where I'm now, or how do you want to play this?
Just to where you are now, where your journey's taking you.
So big steps I took in that time were, after day release, I kind of I worked in lots of other little places again, because I was curious. I wanted to know what suited me best. I worked in restaurants, I worked in hotels, I worked in cafes. I did another apprenticeship at the Landmark Hotel in London, which was quite interesting. From there, I'm going to miss out a lot of it, but I got a great job at the Millennium Dome, which you'll know is the O2 in London, as executive chef at the age of 25. So I didn't know what I was doing. It was by chance and by luck. But there I had a brigade of about, I don't know, 200, 4 or 5 restaurants. It was tough, but what I learned about myself was about resilience. my early training, and I also picked up on management, and that was a key part for me. Learning how to treat people and learn how to mentor and train people. That is the only bit I got from that job. I didn't learn anything about cooking, but I learned a lot about looking after people, and that was really important. I did that for about a year, and then I fast forwarded and I started a company called Restaurant Associates, who are a New York-based company. And we started in London. It was contract catering, so we have kitchens inside big buildings on the high street. And I launched that. That was launched in 2000, year 2000, and I was there for 10 years. And I travelled a lot in that time. I was in New York once a month, which was brilliant. So I worked with my colleagues over there, and then I would come back to London and take all those learnings. And that was a great time. I did that for quite a while. Very successful time, but it was a time that it was almost too much. I threw myself into everything, and I neglected myself a little bit in terms of my own kind of private life. You've got to make sure you're balanced, and I didn't have a lot of balance then. So I kind of did that. And then I moved away from the sector, and I moved into a private hospital here in London, feeding people with cancer. I had a team of about 52 chefs. We never closed. 20 types of menus going out on a daily basis. So it was like a hotel, but it was treating people that were very sick. And I really loved that. I really loved that opportunity to kind of do something very different. And from there, I moved away from that, and I've moved to a company called Baxter Story. So we're a contract caterer. We do food in places like ASOS, Amazon, book publishers, big banks in London, museums in London. We do lots of different things, and that's where all my experience over the years has brought me to my role today, which is head of wellness and nutrition. I'm not a nutritionist. I am not a wellness coach. I'm a chef with 30 years of experience. I know I don't look that old, but I brought all that experience to this new role now, and this new role is exciting. It's teaching me a lot about looking after yourself, but also looking after others. So I guess what you'll get from what I've just told you, and I hope you got something, is that hospitality catering can take you anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter if you work in McDonald's or you work in a cafe or you work in a hotel or a restaurant. There is something for every one of you. And you in the early part of your career, be a bit curious. Don't be afraid to try different things. So that's in a little nutshell. That's a little brief synopsis of what I've done. Yeah, that's
amazing.
That's good to see you all.
Yeah, no, absolutely fantastic that, Andrew. And as you say, such a variety of things, and also the fact that hospitality wasn't your first choice, but actually you've fallen in love with it, and that's where you want to be. So you mentioned the chef at the very beginning, who wouldn't let you wash the pans, but would let you with the breads. That sounds amazing to me. And he sounded like a bit of a mentor. So have you ever had a mentor or somebody that's influenced you greatly in your career? And how did they mentor you? What opportunities did it open up, and how did they influence you?
I think mentor's a tough word, because a mentor can be anyone. It can be a school teacher, it can be a football coach. I've had 4 or 5 mentors, and 2 of them are football coaches who guided me in that career. And the other part of that was I've met probably three in my career today. And I can't name them all, but they're all different people. They're not all chefs. Some of them sit outside the organisation. So I would say for me, the first job I had when I had that bit of bread and I was in that pan, I don't even remember his name. That's the sad reality of it. I'm getting old, but he gave me an opportunity when I was very young for 6 months and nurtured me in a way, cooking 3 different dishes that were all French. It was only 3 dishes. That's all we did back then. It was in the late 80s, early 90s. So there wasn't a great deal of finesse on the plate, but he gave me the push up I needed. And then along the way, I met lots of amazing people, and it's really important to get a mentor. I guess what I do now, I look outside of what I do and I see people that inspire me. It doesn't matter what they do. I look at Jamie Oliver, for example. You'll all know Jamie Oliver, maybe. He's non-scripted. A lot of my values I get from Jamie, because that's I love how he is. And I think, for me, a mentor I'm not saying my main mentor at the moment is a coach. He's a business coach. And he gets me through some tough times when I'm not feeling great. He teaches me how to deal with that and how to move forward. So mentorship, though, is really, really important. I can't stress it enough. I've been very lucky in my career to have lots of people look after me. I probably haven't done them all justice, because there's been many, but they're the three or four that stand out to me.
That's brilliant. Thank you. So have you ever mentored young people, and why do you think mentoring is important?
Yeah, I've mentored lots of people. I mean, I've been involved with the Future Chef competition for, I think, since 2001 or 2, when it started, or near when it started. It's really important, because if you get thrown into this industry, if you join this industry, sometimes it can be quite daunting. It's like, wow, look at this kitchen. There's 30 chefs in here. There's, where do I go here? What do I do? It can be quite scary. But I think for me, when I mentor, especially when I did Future Chef, I used to love inviting 14, 15 kids around around our businesses. Whatever we did, we might take them to a market, get them to taste things they've never tasted before. I can still see the look on the face of this young man I took to a market, Borough Market, and gave him some cheese for the first time, a smelly cheese. It was hilarious, but he'd never tasted it before. So I think mentoring comes in many disguises. And I've always had apprentices, in my kitchens. So the Royal Academy of Culinary Arts, I've always had 4 or 5 apprentices working in the organisations I've worked for. It's not always work related. Sometimes, you might be having some trouble outside of work, or, things aren't going right. So you've got somebody to talk to. And I think a good mentor will set you on the road for success. They'll be your friend, they'll be your colleague, they'll be honest with you, but they'll also give you opportunity. They'll give you the opportunity to grow as a person, and they'll listen to you. And that's really important, listening, because it's really important you have a voice. You do have a voice, and a good mentor will look out for that and be there for you. So mentorship, 100%. It's really important, really important.
It's fantastic. Thank you, Andy. So just moving along to sort of the kitchen culture, because working in a kitchen has had a bad reputation, it has had a bad name, but we know that it's not all like that, and that the culture is changing with a better work-life balance, with chef training and supporting each other, with programs out there to help to support to develop. So can you tell us a little bit about your role now, and what you and your organisation are doing to support that work-life balance, mental health in the workplace, and why it's important now, but also for the future as well?
Yeah, so I mean, my role now, if I could to put it in a very small paragraph, that I would say, is to create a culture that is positive, energetic, mindful, and inclusive for all. That's it. That sounds pretty straightforward, but that means that it's an open for me. It's an open game. So I have to believe in what I do, and I think now more than ever, the mental health piece is at the forefront of everything we do. Having been through my own personal journey of stuff that happened to me, I've learned a lot from that, and my role plays a really huge part in it. Food doesn't really play a lot of what I do at the moment, although I do nutrition in my role. I'm all about mindfulness and making sure that we've got things in place, not just for our own team members, but for our clients as well. So my role is I work a lot with clients at the moment, and I do a lot of what we're doing now. So webinars, I do food and mood webinars, because food and mood webinars are quite interesting, because I capture everything. For me, for example, I explain how I capture everything I eat in a week, where I was working that day, how it went. Did I eat that chocolate then? And did I present well, or was I bad? I try and capture everything, and I talk to people about that. So there's a lot of webinars like that. We do a lot of live cook-alongs, things like 10-minute soups, where I'll cook along with you, and then we'll all sit down and eat the soup and have a good chat. So there's a lot of talking at the moment, which I think is really, really important. And with the clients that we've got now, we're able to reach a wider demographic, a bit like what we're doing today. Having the use of technology has really improved my job, because it means I can reach a wider audience. So things we've put in place for chefs. Just recently, we launched a 5-week spiritual wellbeing program with an ex-chef, and I picked 12 chefs from our business that were going through a hard time, may have been on furlough or have been working throughout the whole of this pandemic. And they went on this 5-week spiritual journey of learning how to breathe and meditate and just be at ease with themselves. And it's been so successful that we're about to launch it for our managers. So we're doing stuff like that. We're bringing people in and collaborating with experts. So in industry, we bring well-known experts in to work with us on food. So we're just about to sign up a chef called Kirk Howarth, who's a great plant-based chef. So he only cooks using plants. Amazing guy. So we're listening to what our clients want, but we're also trying to be as proactive as possible, because a lot of our business at the moment is still closed. We've got a significant part of our business is shut, and that means we've got team members that have been at home for over a year and nearly a year and a half. So it's really important that we know how they're doing, and we can keep up to date with them. So we're constantly on calls with them all the time, just listening to how they're doing, because everyone thinks it's been a holiday. At the beginning it might have been exciting, but unfortunately it's turned into something a lot worse than that. So we've got mental health first aiders. So we've got 5 or 6 chefs in London that have trained on that, and they're now mental health first aiders. And we've also got 6 wellbeing ambassadors, so chefs that have been on their own personal journey, work with a charity called the Burnt Chef Project. And they're now ambassadors for that, and they work across our London business, you know, making sure, checking in on people, and just seeing how they're doing. So I think more than ever now, the talking part like we're doing today is really, really important. You should never be afraid to talk. And I think that's the biggest challenge now, is to find somebody that you can listen to, that will listen to you. So hopefully, and food wise, I haven't really spoke about nutrition. Nutrition comes into it, but as I said, wellness and nutrition, for me, wellness, if we're in a good state of mind, and we're happy and we're healthy, the food follows suit, and we make the right decisions on that piece. So the food part for me is a journey I'm on. I've only been in the role 1.5 years, so it's it's early days still.
You're doing fantastic, and just the work, you know, sitting down, well, not sitting down, but standing up, making the soup with the chefs. You're not even in the room with them, and sitting down and having a chat. I know we've had a conversation about how, you know, exciting that is, but also at the same time how pivotal it is for making sure that people are talking. I think it's absolutely wonderful what you're doing. So that's brilliant. So to you, Andrew, what does a good employer look like to you?
Yeah, see, that years ago, I wouldn't have really thought about that. I would have just wanted a job or wanted to work somewhere, because you know, back then, if you wanted to work in a restaurant, you went there because they had a Michelin star, or you know, they were doing the best food. That's what you look for. I think as I get older, I look at different things now. What are the company's goals? What do they want? What do they achieve themselves? So I always ask the question, you know. Sorry, I've just lost my train of thought there. That's getting old days. I always ask the question, you know, what do you stand for? What is this company, organization? What do you stand for? So a good employer for me is someone you'll connect with in your first meeting. So when I take people around different businesses, normally you will meet someone. And if I meet someone, for instance, or if I'm interviewing and I get on really well with them, I'd probably employ you, because for me, it's about relationships, and it's about opportunity. So, you know, you'll connect with them on your first meeting. They'll give you clear direction. So a good employer will give you clear direction of the business as a whole, where they see you going, you know, and they'll do your roadmap of a career. Right, we want you to come and work for us. You know, we're going to offer you, you know, membership to this academy. We're going to send you out for dinner somewhere. We're going to keep developing you. We're going to give you a buddy. That's a good employer for me. And they want to see you develop, because at the end of the day, investing time in you now sets them up for success in the future. So it's really, really important. I did a webinar yesterday with a good friend of mine, Ben Purton, you might know, on recruiting. And we were talking about the same thing. What you do at the beginning of a journey is sets the tone for the rest of your career. And I think a good employer will always support you and guide you and give you the tools you need to succeed. The last year, we've all been affected by COVID, every one of us, no matter what in this planet. And I think now more than ever, we're changing. And again, most employers are changing how they look at mental health, looking at the hours we work. You know, they're prepared to talk about that. Make sure we get staff feeding times and all the things we did get, albeit it might have been a bit, you know, dicey back then. But I think now more than ever, you know, most employers are changing how they treat you as an individual. I said earlier on, it's about being inclusive, open for everyone, you know, and they're trying to, by supporting that, they send out a really, really clear message that, you know, it's a good organization to work for. Baxter Story as a whole, you know, I love working for them because they give me 85% of the time I'm my own boss. So I'm allowed to be creative. I'm allowed to make decisions for myself. I have to be compliant, you know, 15% of the time, which is company stuff, the procedures you have to do. But the rest of it, I'm allowed to do what I'm doing today. I'm allowed to, and that's the bit I enjoy the most. So you work for somebody, you're paid by somebody, but they give me the freedom to grow, you know, as a person. So hopefully that's answered that question for you.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. And last question for you is, what advice would you give to a young person who's looking to enter the industry as a chef?
You know what, now is a really good time to enter the industry as a chef. Mark, we were speaking earlier, I think most of us need chefs. Most of us need, hospitality needs people. The challenge you're going to have is, where'd you go? There's so much choice, but it goes back to the other question, who's the best employer? Why would you want to work for them? So I think I would say be curious. And what I mean by that is, don't be afraid to look at opportunities. In the past, you know, I've been guilty of looking at CV, seeing where you've worked, which is good. However, it's just a piece of paper. you know, I'm happy to look at people and have a chat with people if they've worked from another sector. So I think be curious. Don't be afraid to look at somewhere you might not think of. It might be a little cafe down the road from you, but why not? You know, do it for a little while, get some experience from it, earn some pocket money, whatever it might be, but learn from it. And I would say, because there's something for everyone. This industry has something for everyone, and that is for sure. Okay, set yourself a few realistic goals. Roadmap where you see yourself in maybe 6 months to a year, because it can be quite easy to go into a job and then 10 years later you're still there. And then you're thinking, damn, I wanted to go traveling, or I wanted to do this. So set yourself some realistic goals that you can review maybe monthly or every 6 months. You know, am I enjoying this? Is it the right thing for me? Should I look at something else? And have those conversations with your mentor or somebody you work with. And I'll put again, if you can find yourself a mentor, this can be someone that will work with you and help you and to get your achievements. And that's what I'm saying. The whole mentorship piece is really important along the whole journey. But I think if I was telling myself now, if I was going back out there at the beginning of my journey, I would do exactly that. I would not listen to what I heard. A lot of the stuff I've heard, I'd be a bit different. I'd go out and just explore, because that then opens opportunities to maybe travel, you know, to go and see the world, which is important, because sometimes you can get stuck in a rut and you end up somewhere for too long because you don't know how to talk. So just be yourself, be authentic. Don't try to be something you're not. Be authentic and try and enjoy it, because you will spend a bit of time in your job. So just try and enjoy it, and listen to your heart. Okay, it's a wonderful industry. It's a really wonderful industry, and no matter what you hear about it, we are a resilient lot, especially the last 6 months, year. The way hospitality is pulled together to support the communities, hospitals, has been fantastic. So we're a good lot, and hopefully some of you will join us in the near future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Andrew. Your insight today has been great, and I hope that the young people have taken a lot away from that, which I know that they will have, because I certainly have as well. So thank you. So we are going to move over to Mark now. He's been sitting there quietly in the background, taking it all in. So Mark, can you tell us a little bit about your career path to date?
So my career started very differently from Andy's. I grew up in the hospitality industry. My parents had bars and restaurants. So from a very young age, 9, 10, I wanted to help out. I wanted to get involved. And obviously, like every kind of young person, I was thrown onto the dishes in the kitchen and watched chefs do their thing for a few years and really, really got the bug for it. So kind of in my later years at school, my mind was set. I was going to be a chef. There was nothing else kind of that I even thought about. My mind was totally made up on a career in hospitality. So soon as school finished for me, which was kind of midway through a year, probably not my best move in life, but I went off to college in Glasgow, to catering college, and did 3 years there. And yeah, it gave me that kind of base understanding, that grounding, kind of taught me the kind of the basics and what I needed to know. I was very fortunate that whilst I was at college, although working for my parents in their places, I got a job in Glasgow's One Devonshire Gardens, where Gordon Ramsay had a 1 Michelin star restaurant. So I kind of went in right at the kind of highest of levels. I had the buzz for kind of fine dining and kind of working for these kind of people, and that's where I started off at 17 years old in Glasgow's One Devonshire Gardens. Had a great time there. Was totally spoiled. We had an amazing kitchen that had windows, which
That's a rarity.
I thought was just the norm in kitchens to have natural light flooding in. How the next few years proved me wrong, but yes. So I started off there and thought, right, where do I go from here? I was at One Devonshire Gardens for a year and thought, right, I need to kind of go to the next step, so to speak. I had some great advice from an older chef right at the very beginning that said to me, in the first few years, don't hang around. once you kind of have spent a year in a kitchen, worked with a chef, picked up tips and tricks from that kitchen, then it's time to move on, move around, go to lots of different styles of kitchens. So I thought, right, where do I go from here? And at that time, 2003, 2004, the world's #1 restaurant was the Fat Duck in Bray, 3 Michelin stars under Heston Blumenthal. So young, kind of cocky me at 18 years old thought, right, I'm gonna send off my CV. All I had on it was college and a year at One Devonshire Garden. So I sent my CV off to Heston Blumenthal and I got a job. So packed everything up and moved down to Bray, and yeah, it was an eye opener. It was a completely different style of kitchen, no windows, but yeah, and it was in that time it was 3 Michelin star. It was the #1 restaurant in the world. There was 27 chefs. We did 40 covers for lunch, 40 covers for dinner, and it was an eye opener. The dishes we did, I probably couldn't use now, but the technique. So that was, we were just kind of getting to grips with kind of sous vide and things at that stage, and yeah, the techniques that I learned at the Fat Duck I still use today, albeit nobody really wants now kind of bacon and egg ice cream or as wonderful as they are, as absolutely wonderful as they are, they're not the kind of everyday dining that you would normally expect. So yeah, so 3 Michelin star, best restaurant in the world. I came back up to Scotland, decided that I wanted to kind of be a little bit closer to home. Our family business was going quite well. I took on a few kind of smaller roles, explored different options, different styles of kitchens, so kind of small independents, hotels, country pubs. So eventually I found myself, after a few years, head chef in a country pub, really kind of high end. I hate to use the term kind of gastropub, but essentially that's what it was. Real kind of nice food, really simple cooking, small team, 5 of us in the kitchen. And that was the first time I got featured in Michelin as my kind of my own kitchen. It wasn't a star, but we were in the Red Book nevertheless. But that was a kind of crowning moment for me. From there, I went on to teach in a recreational cookery school. So I spent some time there, and then after that, I kind of came into the family business. So we had a number of places across Scotland, and I kind of assumed kind of control of back of house operations across everything, and stayed there until 2013 when we sold up. And I thought to myself, when we sold up, I thought, what am I going to do? I didn't particularly want to go back to working for somebody else. I'd found for the kind of 4 or 5 years of having total control, doing what I wanted with menus and staffing, and I thought, I don't know if I want to go back to kind of being beholden to somebody. And I thought, what am I going to do? And at that stage, a chef kind of contact of mine had been the personal chef for the Armani family. And every time I spoke to him, he spoke of these wonderful stories of the things they got up to and the places that he went and the things that he got to cook with. And I thought, that sounds really that sounds like my kind of bag. And I made a few phone calls, leaned on connections, and yeah, got my first kind of personal chef job. And from there was absolutely hooked. Absolutely loved it. Was just exactly what I wanted to do, and I haven't looked back. So that's where are we now, 2021. So 8 years, 7.5, 8 years I've been doing this now, and it's great fun. It can be, sounds very glamorous, cooking for the rich and famous. It's not always as glamorous as it sounds. I expected, going from restaurants and hotels, and I came up through the kind of time of the real antisocial hours. So the starting at 7 in the morning and the finishing at midnight, and working 6 days out of 7 days some weeks, and yeah, horrendous hours, no work-life balance at all. You were just dead on your feet most of the time. So I thought, great, I'm finishing with the restaurants, I'm going into private chefing, personal chefing. It's going to be a breeze. I'm going to go and play golf. I'm going to do all this stuff. It's going to be great. How wrong was I? I mean, I choose to do it now, but my hours are still just as long as they were 15 years ago. However, it is much nicer to be doing those long hours in a stunning kitchen in LA or out cooking in a terrace in Monaco than it is to be stuck in some sweaty kitchen somewhere in the depths of a hotel in London or Glasgow. So yeah, so it's not all bad, but yeah. So I have arrived at this kind of career as a personal chef now. I started off kind of very traditional as a chef, kind of high end, fine dining, big brigades, and now I find myself kind of one sole little chef on his own, doing everything. I love it. I couldn't think of doing anything else. I mean, I tell everybody what a wonderful job I have now, but I couldn't do it if I hadn't had the grounding of college and all those years in lots of different kitchens. So 3 Michelin stars to pubs to outside catering to farm shops, all sorts of things. If I didn't have that kind of wealth of experience across all sectors, I probably couldn't do the job that I do now to the degree that I do it. I see lots of young chefs coming in, and within a year or two, they're a personal chef, they're a private chef. And I just feel they don't have the kind of the wealth of experience across all sectors. So I heavily rely on all jobs that I've done. I kind of fall back on skills and experiences that I've had in the past every day. And I think to get to the stage that I am now and doing fairly decent, that I rely so heavily on the kind of first 10 years of my career where I was in lots of different kitchens, picking up lots of different experience.
It's fantastic. And obviously, because the industry is so broad, being able to get all of that experience and put it into what you're doing today is absolutely fantastic. So, you've covered that you feed the rich and famous at times, royalty, millionaires, you jet setting, you've mentioned Monaco, you've mentioned LA, but you've also mentioned that that work-life balance is your choice as well. You've also mentioned as well some of the places that you have worked. So what is the most interesting place or the most interesting dish maybe that you've had to cook, and why?
Oh, I mean, I'm so fortunate now with the things that I do. Obviously, not the last 12 months, but normally I'm doing such different stuff every day. I mean, no 2 days are the same. That's the difference in what I do now, what I do now to what I did kind of 10 years ago, where you're in a restaurant and you're maybe cooking a menu for a month or 2 months, and it's the same menu day after day. What I'm doing now is very few days are the same. Everything's exciting. I'm very fortunate in life now that I'm at the stage with my work that I can pick and choose the jobs that I want to do. So, I mean, really, every job is exciting to me. That's why I picked it. Everything. But I mean, one of the most memorable jobs I ever did. I don't think anybody in hospitality doesn't know of the Roux family. Sadly, we've lost 2 of them now. But I did a dinner or a kind of lunch, a private lunch, and it was Albert Roux.
Wow.
He had hired me to cook a dinner for a lunch for 20 up in the Scottish Highlands, which was intimidating enough as it was until I found out the guest list was his brother Michel Senior, Michel Junior, Alan Roux, and the late 2 Michelin starred Andrew Fairley. And the rest were all Lord and Lady something. That was nerve-wracking, I have to say. That was a scary one to approach, but just great fun. They loved the food. I'm not sure I would say it was such great fun if they hadn't have loved the food. But yeah, that's probably one that's always going to stick with me and be that kind of apex dinner that I probably will never get to do something quite the same ever again.
Of course, a chef cooking for some of the best chefs in the world must have been a pretty scary moment, but executed brilliantly by the sounds of it, Mark. Well done you. Fantastic. So what's been your most favourite moment in your career so far?
Oh, well, I mean, in different stages of my careers has been like when I was young, I think the kind of kudos of working in 3 Michelin star and #1 restaurant in the world was at the time a huge kind of something I was hugely proud of. Having my own kitchen, getting into the Little Red Book was kind of a few years later was another major one. And I mean, at every stage of my career, there's been something that I've kind of pointed out as being a kind of defining moment of that period. And now, just obviously working with Springboard, working with schools, having a tiny influence on kind of shaping and helping kind of get youngsters into hospitality is a big thing at the moment.
No, absolutely. And I've been in kitchens where you have done cookery demonstrations with kids, some real basic stuff, but they've learnt so much skills. So I do know how much you do have to give out there as well, which is fantastic. So the last question for you then, just like Andrew had I gave to Andrew, is what advice would you give to somebody who's looking to enter the industry as a chef? You know, as a young person, what's the piece of advice you'd give them?
I mean, probably the same thing I was given. I mean, college is important, qualifications are important, but they're not the be all and end all. Experience is important, but again, it's the attitude. I would much rather hire somebody that's enthusiastic and wants to cook and wants to learn than somebody with an amazing CV. CV's only part of it. The two big things that I have learned from my career that I would kind of strongly emphasize anybody picks up on, and it probably doesn't just apply to hospitality and careers as chefing, but in the early days of your career, you're only young once, you've got years ahead of you to make money. Get out there, don't spend too long in the one place. Whatever industry you decide to go into, whether it's hospitality or anything, there's going to be different sectors in that industry, and you need to experience as many as you can to know which path you want to go down. So yeah, so first few years of your career, enjoy life, do what you want to do, experience lots in your career, and this is probably the most important thing, and something that I still lean on heavily to this day, is never burn a bridge. Never leave an employment under a cloud. Never burn a bridge. And networking is so important. The connections you make, no matter how silly you think it may be, you don't know when that connection is going to be a huge part in your career. So networking, making connections is, for me, the most important part of any career. And like I say, that can translate to careers in finance, chefing, whatever it may be. Those are the two kind of things that I always have in the back of my mind.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mark. That's been brilliant. So I hope everybody found that useful. Does anybody have any questions if you want to type them in the chat, and for both Andrew and Mark? This is the awkward part where we're waiting for the...
I've got a question actually, whilst we're waiting for the typing to start. Mark, you've got a really, you once told me a story about being on a private jet and having to cook for a celebrity's pet. Maybe you could tell us a bit about that.
Yes, we don't actually cook on private jets because there's this whole thing about planes and gas and electricity. It's a bit of a nightmare. But I do have a client who is fairly well known, who has 2 tiny little dogs that only eat steamed halibut and drink sparkling mineral water. And I have fed dogs steamed halibut and sparkling mineral water.
There we go. All that training, Mark, and that's what it's coming down to there.
That's where I end up, serving pre-cooked fish to a dog at 38,000 feet.
Okay, fantastic. So, okay, we have a question for both chefs. So maybe start with Andrew. What is your favourite food?
Oh, that's a good question.
So at the moment, I for the last 5 years, I've been predominantly eating plant-based food. So I don't eat a lot of meat and fish. However, So plant-based food, you know, it's not a trend anymore. It's part and parcel of what we do. You can get all your nutrition from plant-based diet. It's, you know, it's nuts, grains, vegetables, fruit. It's incredible. What we can do now with food, and especially on a vegan plant-based diet, is incredible. What we could do 20 years ago. However, I had a fish meal at Nathan Outlaw, a guy chef called Nathan Outlaw in Cornwall a couple of weeks ago. I know Nathan well, and I went down there and I had a fish menu, and I forgot. I was in the restaurant with my wife, and it was all fish. I haven't eaten fish for about 3 or 4 years. And you know what? It was the best meal I've had in probably 15 years. The setting was beautiful. The way Nathan cooks his fish is very, very simple, and he puts a few seasonal ingredients with it. So at the moment, I got my filleting knife out when I came home, and I've got a local fishmonger. I'm buying a piece of fish every week, and I'm getting a piece of fish and I'm preparing it, and it's just the most amazing thing when you can just go back to when you used to do it, when I used to cook properly. And so yeah, fish is my kind of love at the moment, and fish, you know, the fishermen in the UK need our support. So for me, it's fish at the moment.
Brilliant, thank you. Mark?
Fantastic.
Oh.
Oh, I think Mark's frozen.
No,
Oh no, he's nice there.
Were you just thinking?
He's waiting for his prompt.
What's your favourite food, Mark?
Oh, I mean, again, it's very similar to Andy's, but I mean, in Scotland we produce some of the best ingredients in the world. For me at the moment, I mean, we're kind of right in kind of berry season and stuff in Scotland, and we are spoiled with what we have. So at the moment, everything tends to be something berry related and seafood, because I mean, the seafood industries have really been hit, particularly with COVID and with Brexit. And in Scotland, we produce the most stunning shellfish. I mean, up the west coast, scallops, langoustines, lobsters, crab. I mean, I just love cooking and eating really most things that come out the sea.
Brilliant.
Okay, one more question. Are there any opportunities for more mature students to gain a foothold in the industry? So throw that out to both chefs, whatever one wants to go first.
I mean, I think yes. I mean, definitely. That's the beauty of hospitality. Anybody can come in and do anything, and I'm sure mature students have kind of transferable skills from other industries. The only kind of downside is hospitality, especially in the kind of the early kind of rungs of the career ladder, isn't necessarily the best paid jobs in the world. And for a mature student, they might find it slightly more difficult to readjust to kind of smaller salaries to start with. Obviously, depending on what kind of career path you choose, you can have pretty substantial salaries in hospitality relatively quickly, probably quicker than you could in other industries. But yeah, I mean, hospitality is not kind of biased in anybody's favour. Anybody can do well in it, regardless of background.
Yeah, I echo that 100%. It's you know, at the moment, especially, most people cook at home, don't they? So most people cook for children at home. They're cooking every day. So I think naturally, more than ever, there's an opportunity, because we're doing some recruiting next week where we're looking at people from outside of the catering industry. We're looking at people that they've had time to think while being on furlough, and they want to change jobs. They want to do something different, and they are aware of what Mark said. The pay can be quite low at that level, but they're prepared for a life balance. They want to try something different. Naturally, what I do, you know, we do a lot of contracts, so the hours are a bit less than what Mark does. So I 100%, I will look at anyone, because everyone can add something, and it's how much we invest in you at the beginning. You know, at the end of the day, no matter what age you are, a good employer will invest time in you and make you a success to allow you to, you know, to go on and do better things. So yeah, there's an opportunity for everyone, 100%.
Fantastic. I don't think there's any more questions. Oh no, there is. Somebody's typing. We'll just give them a moment. Fantastic.
It was interesting speaking to, just quickly if I can jump in, you were speaking about Albert Roux. So those who are watching, you know, I've spent a lot of time with Chef Albert over the years in my previous job, and we used to do loads of private college dinners. And he used to have a walking stick, and I used to always be looking after lobsters. Whenever I was doing a dinner with him, it was always me on the lobster. I think it was a lobster mousse wrapped in spinach or something. And you know, you knew he was behind you. He had these big eyes. you know, and he'd give you a little tap on the heel. Hi, chef, come on, chef. So it's just nice to hear Mark talk about that, because that's the industry we work in. We've all got these lovely stories, and if we all sat down and did a book, we'd have a lovely library of stories from chefs that have, you know, so it's really nice. And those people aren't with us anymore, but they're good memories to have. It's lovely to sit down and talk about those places you work. So sorry, I just wanted to chuck that in there.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, what's your favorite dish to make? Another question. So not what's your favorite dish to eat, what's your favorite dish to make?
This is probably the question that we get asked the most. And I don't think I've ever had an answer for it. I mean, it's not so much, I mean, chefs, we love to cook. We love to cook anything, really. For me, it's not about what's my favourite dish to cook for, it's who I'm cooking for. And it's always great to cook, whatever it may be. It could be a simple steak and chips, it could be something really elaborate. But if the person eating it appreciates good food, that's the more important bit than what I'm actually cooking.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
I love sharing food. I like to cook food that's very simple. I love the Middle East, is one of my favourite countries. Oman and places like that. I spent time there before, and I love the Middle Eastern breakfast. You know, I love putting that hummus, mahamra, pickled vegetables, you know, really nice different things, and putting it on the table. And as Mark said, it's nice to share food. I think just if you're cooking all day, and especially if you're cooking at a high level, you don't really want to be doing that in your spare time. You know, it's nice, like Mark said, get the barbecue out, get a lovely piece of steak, but do it with friends and share it. And I think Mark will say the same thing. No matter how many times you have people over, or you go to somebody's house, they're always petrified of cooking for a chef. All you want to do is you just want to have a bowl of macaroni and cheese. You know, that's all you just give me some. I'm not precious like that. So I think it's lovely when people cook for you. It really is lovely when they cook for a chef, because you know I'm certainly not precious, and I appreciate anyone who's put a little bit of effort in. So yeah, sharing food's good. Sharing food at meal times is a really nice way as well for mental health, to talk about your day, you know, and what's going on. So it's a really important time.
Okay, we've got a really interesting question here. So what do you think about the shortage of chefs in the UK at the moment?
That's a good one. I mean, I think partly it's our own doing. I think the culture that we've created over the last probably 20 years of antisocial hours, antisocial behaviour. I mean, I've been in lots of kitchens and been at the tail end of bullying or experienced bullying, and I think for a long time we just accepted that as kitchens. That's what we did. That's what we put up with. I think luckily there's been a big change in that kind of attitude lately, so I think that's contributed to it. But I think there's always been a chef shortage. There always has been. I think there's been a number of contributing factors of late. COVID and furlough have certainly not helped. I'm trying to recruit chefs for various places at the moment, and a lot of people have came out of the industry for the last year because hospitality has been shut down. They've taken careers or jobs in, or what they consider were going to be temporary jobs in other industries, and have discovered that working Monday to Friday, 9 till 5, getting a guaranteed wage at the end of it, is a really nice way to make a living. And they're sticking with it, and they're not coming back. I mean, I'm prime example of you get out of hospitality what you put in. I work stupidly long hours still, but that is my choice. I could work much shorter. I think as time goes on, we as an industry have realised that we were doing things wrong, and we're kind of making kind of amends for that. And I think we're going to very soon start attracting lots more people back in. Hopefully in a year or so's time we won't have a chef as big a chef. We'll always have a chef shortage. We always have. There'll always be one. But I think hopefully we'll kind of get on top of it a little more.
Same question to Andrew.
Yeah. Listen, I echo everything Mark says, but I think I'm quite excited by it, because if I think back to when I started training, I think I was going through, there was a new kind of shift in terms of what food we were doing. And I think now more than ever, with Springboard, Future Chef, you know, I'm a member of the Royal Academy of Culinary Arts, you know, Chefs Adopted School. There's lots of great things going on. There's a pathway into the industry. I think now more than ever, especially people like myself, Mark, and some other lots of senior chefs that have been around a while and are cooking at the top of their game. we have a responsibility, more than ever, to kind of change the culture. I did grow up in that culture, and I remember some of the stuff that went on, which was just, you would never accept that today, and it's not acceptable behavior either. So I would never, I think now more than ever, I'm looking for what we do as a business, really invest in time. At the start of the journey, we've got to invest the time to retrain, whatever that looks like, retrain, and just make it more attractive. Make it more attractive. Sometimes it's not always about the money. Sometimes it's about the balance of life, but also, your colleagues, your environment, the culture of the business. What else can I get from it? Do I get to go out and spend time with my chef friends in the other parts of it? Do I get to eat out? So I think while it's going to be challenging, out of crisis comes opportunity. And I think now we've got a real opportunity collaborating together as an industry, because we do that more than ever now. And I think by collaborating, we do create opportunities for each other. And I think now we were doing that prior to COVID, but I think now we talk a lot more, especially as chefs. I'm connected to quite a few chefs like Mark will be, and we talk more than we probably ever did, outside of the kitchen, probably because we're not working so much, but but there's a nice atmosphere. And I think some high-end restaurants have come out and they've said they can't do lunch service now because they haven't got staff, and the stories are behind that. So I think the culture is changing. It was changing prior to COVID, and I think it's getting stronger. It's going to be a little bit tough, but don't let that put you off. If you're coming into this industry, it's still a fantastic industry, and you'll choose the right organisation, the right mentor, and you'll do all right. And it's important, like Mark says, stay close to people as well. Make sure you just be what's the word I'm going to use? Just be curious. Don't be afraid to move around and enjoy it. Try and enjoy it. Okay.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So just a little bit of feedback for you there, chefs. So got a few comments. Very inspiring talk. Thank you. And one of the schools has just had to leave early. Said thank you for your time. Our students really enjoyed it. So fantastic. Thank you so much.
That's brilliant. Yeah, thank you both for your time. It's been really, really great to hear two different sides, two different stories from two different chefs, but actually the messages that you've given are pretty much consistent all the way through, which is, to be curious, build your networks, go out there and experience everything that you possibly can. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to help to support all of the young people that are here on our call. Well, anybody who's on here at the moment, to help inspire them, to hopefully come in and have a career as a chef in the culinary sector as well. So thank you very much. That is the end of our session. If nobody has any other questions. Now, all of our videos that we have had for the past 4 culinary career sessions are going to be available on our website, so I will be sending that link out to you as well. So go and have a look at those. If there's any questions, any support that we can give you here at Springboard through Future Chef, we'd be more than happy to. And Andrew and Mark are 2 of our Future Chef mentors, judges, and overall friends of Springboard as well. So thank you so much for your support. Thank you to everybody today for attending, and we hope to see you all very soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. See you soon.